Welcome to this free immigration help channel. In this quick video, I wanted to address a question regarding the asylum. I get a lot of questions. Most of the questions, for whatever reason, I get on this channel is about asylum process, applying for asylum, and most importantly, going through the interview. And the interview being one of the most important parts. Obviously, this is the step where it is determined if you will get the asylum or if your application will be denied, and you will have to go through the immigration court system and then prove your case in court. Obviously there you will already need the immigration attorney and stuff like that, so everything becomes more complicated, definitely becomes more expensive with an attorney. And if your EAD, Employment Authorization Document clock, has not reached 365 days, which it is now 365 days. It used to be 180 days. Now it's 365 days. If it doesn't reach that, then obviously it is stopped, and now you have to wait until you get your Employment Authorization Document. So everything becomes more complicated. So the reason why I'm saying all of this is I want to underline the importance of the interview. And in this video, I wanted to give you really just a few tips whenever it comes to the interview that will help you to prepare, be prepared, be organized, and present your case as good as possible. And keep in mind that that whenever it comes to the asylum, it can be just you. It can be you and your spouse. It can be you and your spouse and your children that are participating in this interview. It can be the whole family, going through this interview. So the situations obviously will be different, but these tips that I'm going to give you in this video, it will definitely help you whatever the situation is, whatever your case is. So let's get to the interview. You arrive at the interview. Obviously you want to look as professional, as sharp as possible. Make sure to look your best. If you're a guy, make sure to wear a suit and tie and all of that sort of stuff. If you're a lady, then obviously you wear however professional ladies dress. I don't know, but you get the point. You want to make sure that you look very sharp. You want to make sure that you look organized and prepared. Have all of your evidence, have all of your statements, have all of that stuff prepared nicely in the folder, everything organized. One thing, this is one of the main tips that I wanted to give in this video is obviously you're going to have your statement, right? You're going to have your story written out. You're going to go through it. You will be preparing before the interview, obviously. Besides that being your own story, obviously, you also gonna go through it and read through it and obviously write it, so you will remember all of that stuff. But what really definitely helps whenever it comes to the asylum interview is having everything in chronological order, so you can have just one page, separate page that you can make with all of the dates, just starting from the very beginning, going through your statement. What is the very first date in your statement that you mentioned? What is the second date that you mentioned? This is let's say this and this happened on whatever date, and then this happened on whatever date. So it's just a really one page, the chronological order of all the events, all the things that happened in your story, and you can have it open in front of you whenever you're giving your story, whenever you're telling your story to the asylum interviewer, the officer, the immigration officer. You can have that page in front of you, and you can rely on it and make sure that you don't miss any of these events. Now, personally, for me, that's the hardest part, is the dates. I can remember the details, I can remember the little things, but whenever it comes with the dates, this is the hardest part for me. So that chronological thing, just one page, having it in front of me, it was definitely helpful on my own asylum interview whenever I was going through it. I had it right there, I had it in front of me, and I could kind of, it's here's the thing, it's understandable, right? You go to a very important interview like this. It's a very complicated interview, a very important interview, and obviously it's understandable that you can be nervous or your spouse can be nervous, and you can mess up. You can mess up the dates, you can mess up the events, but please, you don't want that to happen. It's understandable that this might happen, but you don't want that to happen, because really little things like that, for example, your date, you said something different in your statement, and during the interview you said a different date, whatever, 2 weeks in front or 2 weeks before, and it does not go with what you wrote in the statement. That right there, just that right there, can be the reason for the denial. And like I said, immigration officers, they do understand that you can be nervous, that you can make mistakes, but at the end of the day, if what you're saying contradicts to what is written in your statement, that definitely will be the reason for the denial, and you don't want those little things to happen. So having very nice, organized, everything in chronological order, it's literally just you going through your story and you writing out all the dates. Day 1, and brief description what happened. Day 2, brief description what happened. Day 3, brief description what happened. Just having that in front of you can definitely help you a lot. All right, the tip number 2 that I wanted to give you here is don't learn your story by heart. Please don't do that. I've seen personally, I've seen people going through their own statements, through their own story, just non-stop until they learn everything word by word, and then they go to the interview and they say everything word by word from their statement, and it looks bad. It really does look bad in front of the immigration officer. It's almost like the story is not real and you had to learn it in order to tell it. Whenever you have your own story, it's okay to go off and maybe give some extra details, maybe be a little bit more brief about something and a little bit more in detail about something. Just go along with your story. This is your story. You don't have to know it by heart. If you are telling it what you learned by heart, it raises the suspicion that maybe your story isn't true and you had to actually learn it in order to tell it. All right. Tip number 3. Don't concentrate that much on being as precise. Again, this is kind of goes with the tip number 2. Don't learn your story by heart. And number 3 is don't try to be as precise with your story, right? With the written statement. Make sure that the interview flows naturally. All right. The immigration officer, obviously, he or she, they will guide you themselves with the questions, with the information that they need. They will ask you, they will navigate you through now obviously they're gonna be already prepared. They're gonna go through your statement, they're gonna know approximately what happened, and they will ask you by that story the questions, and just go along with the story, go along with the flow, let the interview be natural. All right. Number 4 tip that I wanted to give you is if you are with your spouse, with your wife, obviously things like this, it can get pretty emotional. Don't shy away from emotions. There's nothing wrong with if you're saying something that is very personal, that something bad, something happened or whatever. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to cry. Immigration officers, they do understand it. I've seen people trying to suppress their emotions, trying to hold it back, and trying not to show the emotions and stuff like that. And again, that kind of makes the interview seem very unnatural and very weird, very uncomfortable. So if your wife, she wants to cry because the story that you're saying is very personal, something bad happened, let it happen. There's really nothing wrong with that. The immigration officer definitely understands it. And the very last tip, whenever it comes to the evidence, because obviously you're gonna have the evidence with you, the originals, before if you know the application that you're filling out, you're submitting, you're not filing any original documents. So you're gonna have all your original documents with you on the interview. Make sure that whenever you go through your story, right, the immigration officer asks you the question and you're going through your story by their question, right? So there is a structure to the interview. Make sure to everything that you have evidence for, make sure you offer to show it. Now, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen families go for an interview. They have all of this evidence with them, the evidence of the of their lives being persecuted, of them being physically harmed, of them being in a hospital, of them filing the police reports. They have all of these documents, medical records, all of these police reports, all of that stuff, and they don't show them. They don't show them. Why do you bring them if you don't want, if you're not gonna show them? This is very, very important. Now I know you submit all of these copies of the documents beforehand, but keep in mind, don't forget that whenever you are in the interview and you're going through a story and you're saying the story and you say, hey, this is this, right? This happened and I was physically injured and I was in a hospital. Say, I do have an original of the hospital record on me if you want to see it. And make sure you say it. Make sure you offer that evidence, because an immigration officer, they don't know. Maybe they've seen the evidence from your case. Most likely they have. But you never know. Maybe they didn't. And this is your opportunity to make your case as strong as possible and offer that evidence. So hopefully these 5 tips that I gave you will be useful to you. If you do have any questions, you can drop them in the comments below. If this video was useful, please consider doing some donations. The link is in the description below. These donations definitely help this channel to keep on going. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. Like I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.